Excuse me, but shouldn't the priority always be to reduce the amount of human collateral? Like, I understand you have a lot of pride and there's a lot of paperwork you need to get through. But at the end of the day, it's cut and dry. There's people at stake, there's lives at stake. And these Ukrainian men, they're worth saving. Hell, like Slavics are one of the last of the few good whites. Like, they have traditional family values. Like, the women take pride in femininity. The men take pride in hard work ethic and stoicism. And it really seems like me, to an outsider, that Zelensky has a lot of pride in the situation. He has like a personal vendetta against Putin, and he wants to send all his men to die for the sake of not joining any kind of partnership with Russia. And you think about it, there's three big superpowers in this world. You've got China, you've got Russia, and you've got the United States. So you have to partner economically and with policies with one of the three. And Ukraine has a long history with Russia. They share similar language, they share similar food, dress code, values. Ethnically, they're almost identical. And the United States isn't exactly the most honorable lately. Like, they're on top, they're the big boys, but their culture lately is famous for things like pornography and TikTok. I mean, I'm on TikTok now, but Russia isn't exactly the worst place in the world. And Zelensky says he wants guarantees, like pieces of paper. Who's to say these pieces of paper even mean anything? Like, people change hands, presidency change hands. But what you can do right now is cease fire and stop the men from being killed so there's a country worth protecting. At what cost? What's the point of sending everyone out to die? There's nothing left to protect. And what are you protecting it from? At the end of the day, what is the worst case scenario? I mean, Crimea, that's the one place they took, right? And think about all the territories that the United States have taken. And I'm sure Russia has a pretty good rationale for taking Crimea. Not to mention the fact that Russia hasn't got any port. Like, they're the third world's biggest superpower and haven't got any port other than the right east of Russia, which is right next to the freaking just the ice pit. And there's always this big arching over-ending fear that Russia's going to somehow just like take over Poland, just keep going west. They've never, ever, ever showed inclination of that in the history of Russia, except for Finland. And that was like some Slavic nomads. This was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And you can't define a country's action by what they did hundreds of years ago. It's like right now in Australia, there's still animosity towards the Anglo-Saxons because we settled Australia and there was some human rights violations to the Aboriginals. But that was in 1780s. It's a different world now, and you can't judge us by back then. And also, the English and the Irish and the Scottish and the Welsh were actually the most fair out of any European settlers. There's no one who treated the natives better. And if it wasn't the Anglo-Saxons, it would have been the Dutch or the Japanese or the Chinese. And imagine if China were the ones to settle Australia completely, like bring them the wheel, bring them literature, bring them the printing press, bring them ships, bring them food preservation, bring them laws of consent, 18 plus, then there would have been a lot worse human rights violations. The English were actually the ones to make slavery illegal. And so, getting back to the main point, it seems like there's a lot of pride in Zelensky, and he's obsessed with like this winning this. But what is winning to him? What would Ukraine look like if they flattened Russia and killed every single last Russian, slit their throats? What would Ukraine look like? You think they're going to get all the debt that America has? And have these giant skyscrapers everywhere. Everyone's got Mercedes. All the girls have implants. Is that really like a best case scenario? I mean, look at Europe. Europe is in partnership with America now, and they're not doing very well. Look at the UK. UK is was historically United States' biggest ally out of Europe because obviously America was initially a English country. England isn't doing that great at all. So you can't say, oh, if we just try and kill Russia and then we just take over our own. Playing too loud apparently. But yeah, what's the best case scenario for Zelensky if he somehow just takes over Russia and stops them from ever wanting to have any business with Ukraine? So that then you have to partner with somebody. There's no sovereign countries. There's no completely separate countries. Everyone piggybacks off somebody. They need a military, okay? You're either with China or you're with Russia or you're with the United States. And so think about it. End of the day, to me it seems logical, the best case scenario is to stop people from dying. And you say you want an agreement. I mean, who are you calling the shots? Like just because you've met up with Sean Penn doesn't mean you're God's gift to earth. You need to negotiate with the big wigs, all right? End of the day, Russia and America, they are the ones calling the shots. They are the ones with the military. Without them, you're nothing.